What's going on, everyone? Ains here, Season Gaming, and yes, today we're going to be talking a lot about Halo. It's a big topic in the gaming industry right now. I've kind of been embroiled in a mess of it, and I want to talk about all of the aspects relating to everything we know from Halo Infinite's launch, and even prior to launch to now, which is a lot. So, a couple things right out of the gate. One, as you can see already, it's just me. Just talking to the camera, and I don't have a script. So this is going to be just a whole bunch of information that I have of what I know, what I've said, what has been said, what has transpired, etc. And I'm going to try to talk through it as concisely as possible to make sure that anyone watching this, I'm not going to be flamboyant or talking all sorts of nonsense. This is going to be factual, what's happened over the past 6 to 12 to 18 months, and where I think we're going to see Halo go next. I'll also obviously cover, everything to do with the article I wrote 2 weeks ago, Jason Schreier's article that came out a couple days ago, rumors, speculation, Unreal Engine, all these other things. So bear with me. I don't usually do these kind of just one-off, talking for a while videos, but I feel there's a lot to cover here. I've had a lot of people reach out to me, DM me, etc., about, hey, we want to hear from you on Halo based on your article and what came out with Jason Schreier and the Unreal's thing, which is actually really cool, right? I appreciate that people have reached out and really kind of asked for my perspective, because I think there's anyone who follows Halo knows there is a lot of crazy reactions, crazy videos, things that are all over the place, people trying to get attention. The worst actors, I think, in the community are the ones who use Halo and just spout off about it without actually really even playing or knowing Halo, and just taking advantage of kind of the SEO to get clicks and whatnot. And you're seeing a lot of that right now. So this video, I hope, is something that you can take as purely information from someone who adores the franchise, follows all kinds of details going on with 343, and, just kind of appreciates what Halo is as an IP. So let's start from Infinite's launch. So Infinite launches late 2021. To critical reviews, I reviewed it. Many people I know reviewed it. Critical acclaim, nearly a 90 or 87, 88 a meta, whatever it is. Really great campaign, really great multiplayer. And of course, people have differing opinions on that, right? But general consensus critically is that where it stands. And at that point, we get to what we've all talked about for a year plus now, which is their live service content delivery and it being lackluster, right? 343 has come out and said that, admitted that they're not where they want to be. They're not at the speed they want to be. They're not at the level of content delivery they want to be. So I think we've covered all that kind of ad nauseum. So we'll fast forward to about mid last year, maybe third quarter last year. We start to hear rumors that 343 is shifting to Unreal Engine for Halo in the future. Now, there's a lot of context here as to why me and many others said that's highly unlikely, which I'll try to explain now in case you haven't caught up with that. One is that we knew, obviously, that they've invested a lot of time, money, and effort into Slipspace, which has remnants of Blam engine. And Blam, if you're not familiar, is the engine that has been used since the beginning of Halo by Bungie. Still some aspects of it used in Destiny. And it's part of what many believe contributes to the Halo feel of the games, feeling a certain way, and them capturing kind of the physics and the feel and the shooting and everything that goes along with the Halo game feeling like Halo. So Infinite's in Slipspace. We also knew at the time that Forge was coming, that Forge was going to be the most advanced version of Forge yet. And that, of course, has to be supported by the engine of the game, which hasn't been built in Unreal or supported in Unreal. We also knew that 343 has experimented with Unreal in the past. They've done so multiple times, from what I understand. And every time they do so, they've come back. And it's part of the reason why, when they experimented with Unreal 4, that they decided to go and build Slipspace, because they needed a dedicated engine for Halo and everything that it encompasses, including what Infinite was going to be, right? So open world, the Halo physics and feel like we talked about, Forge, all these various aspects. Lastly, we also knew that Tatanka, which we're going to cover kind of intermittently throughout this conversation, which is the rumored battle royale-esque mode that Certain Affinity, Max Hoberman's studio, has been working on with 343 for over 2 years as of this moment. We knew some of the details about that. We had seen some of the code about that, and it has already been built in Slipspace and integrated into Infinite's UI. So, knowing all of that, when the rumors came out about Unreal, many of us said, including me, of course, that no, there's no way Infinite switches to Unreal. There's no way because of all these factors I just said. Now, could they explore Unreal for future projects? Sure. But again, it comes back to they've done that in the past and they've never gone that direction. So it was one of those wait and see, but highly unlikely type scenarios. So we'll come back to that because a lot more has come out about Unreal this past week. But that started several months ago. So we fast forward now to September 1st, actually, when 343 comes out, does their roadmap delivery, and doubles down on live service for Halo Infinite. So they talk about content delivery. They give the roadmap of the winter update and getting to the seasonal approach, the 3-month seasonal approach, which is going to start with season 3 next month as we record this. They talk about, the future for HCS and a lot of other things. Generally speaking, it's what we've already said, right? They acknowledge the faults. They acknowledge that they need to speed up, but they are doubling down on more content at a faster rate for Infinite, which again, going back to what we said previously, kind of dictates that, okay, Infinite is safe. Tatanka, what we knew about it at the time, is safe, and it's going to continue, for the foreseeable future. Less than 2 weeks later, September 12th, we get the news that Bonnie Ross is being let go and leaving. We've covered that ad nauseum. They have another video on the channel if you want to check that out. And that her position is being broken into 3 positions separately, along with Pierre Hintz taking over as the studio head. Now, Pierre has a long history in the industry, obviously, and he has helped deliver some of the stuff and some of the course correction with Master Chief Collection. He also helped land Halo Infinite. And so this signifies a recognition of the failures of live service delivery for Halo Infinite and 343 as a whole. And it also signified at the time a shift in leadership direction. Now, at the time, back on September 12th, we didn't, at least I didn't realize, of course, or I don't think many realized just how large of a shift this was going to be. And it's going to tie into what happens here a couple weeks ago when Microsoft, as a larger entity, lays off over 10,000 people. Now, affected within the Xbox or the gaming division of Microsoft is this layoff across Bethesda and 343 primarily, 343 being the biggest. So we start to learn more details then around this reset that has occurred with Halo as an IP within 343. So like I said, we have a new studio head. We have new leadership in place. We're hearing more and more from developers kind of in the nether realm, if you will, around what went on, the issues with leadership in developing Halo Infinite, why it was delayed, et cetera, problems with Slipspace, things like that. So on January 19th, 2 weeks ago, essentially, Twitter user Bathrobe Spartan, who has a long history about detailed information on Halo, very trusted source. I talk with that account. They're definitely trustworthy and kind of have details and know what they're talking about. They released a thread on Twitter, which I later corroborated based on talking with them and a few other sources around several core details around what's going on at 343. So that is the bullets, we could talk about this for a while, but really the essential details are that a significant amount of people have been let go from 343, including key members of the motion capture team, the effects teams, the sound design teams, and anyone working on the planned campaign content for Halo Infinite. We also said that 343 was only focused, currently active dev only, on Halo Infinite, multiplayer only, live service delivery. They weren't currently working on anything single player related. That 343 will continue to be kind of the curators of all things Halo as an IP in the future. So that includes not only the games, right? That's everything from the show to books to movies to merch to everything that goes along with the Halo IP. But like we said, in terms of active development within the studio, it's just multiplayer right now. And of course, we learned that, they're exploring other ways to deliver single player games in the future. Now, at the time, what we kind of gleaned from that, right, is there was a lot of talk about, okay, where do we go from here? It's obvious we're not going to get any additional single player Halo content for some time, especially because the initial plans for, things they were dabbling with for Halo Infinite editions were scrapped. So that's what Bathrobe Spartan reported. I corroborated it, excuse me. And, that created waves, got a lot of attention for that. And then, some people came out and said this is nonsense and this is BS. Like I said on Big Cast when I talked about this, I knew the sources were trustworthy. So the interesting thing at this point is that I'm going to come back to this, but at this point, when our information and articles come out, Jason Schreier posts not on Twitter, and I'm going to put that up here on the screen, but on Era, and I forgot to pull it up here so that I could actually read it. So bear with me. I apologize. It's right here. Okay. So he says, quote, "I ran these bullet points by a few people. While it's true that 343 is focused on multiplayer, the stuff about campaign DLC being scrapped is false. I don't think there is much of that planned in the first place, and a lot of this is either wrong or just speculation." So that's what Jason Schreier said after our stuff came out. And seeing that, of course, I talked to a few other people who shared this information, and we just kind of sat back and said, we know our information is true, we trust our sources, and we'll just see how this plays out. So that leads us to a couple days ago now. Jason Schreier publishes an article. Oh, by the way, and other content creators and Xbox kind of related content creators called us out as false as well. So it's kind of a weird place to be, knowing that you have accurate information, but you have someone as broadly known as Jason Schreier and others calling you out and saying you're wrong. Weird feeling, especially for someone like myself who doesn't like to get involved in drama much. So lead to a couple days ago, we get Jason Schreier writing an article for Bloomberg, where essentially, we'll come back to the Unreal Engine piece, but essentially he corroborates everything we said that he said was false, which is he said at least 95 people were laid off, which it's more than that, as we've already said, that they are only working on multiplayer for the foreseeable future, that they are exploring ways to, how they're going to work on future Halo content, and that there's kind of been a reset within 343 and a rethink of what they're doing. So all stuff that we already said. So as you can imagine, I kind of took offense to that. And of course, his article blew up, and then you get other people saying, yeah, this is true, this is true, this is true. And this is nearly 2 weeks after we already reported this, and other people said it was false. So again, very weird place to be. All I can say is, as I said at the time, is that, like I said, we knew the information was solid, and I think that's proven out now at this point. So I don't want to harp on that for too long, but anyway, here we are. So the big thing that comes out of Jason's article that we didn't touch on, and I still haven't fully corroborated, but of course, Jason has far better sources than I do, and I'm not going to be someone who's going to challenge Jason Schreier on inside information in the gaming industry, certainly. But says that the decision has been made internally. It's been decided that the future of Halo is with Unreal Engine. Now, as I said, going back to the beginning of this conversation, there were all these X, Y, and Z reasons why we didn't think that was going to happen. But what it sounds like, according to his information, which I believe Jez later said that he believes this to be true as well, is that the decision has been made, and it will include Tatanka shifting to Unreal. So what that means, if you've kind of been putting these Lego pieces together, is a number of things. And I wrote on Twitter the other day that this has huge implications for the future of where Halo is going to go over the next, for the foreseeable future. One, everyone should understand then, if this is true, that Halo Infinite is a standalone title, meaning that it will be on its own. It will not be added to. The live service multiplayer aspect will continue, as we've talked about, and Season 3 is coming next month, etc. and HCS year 2 and 3 from what Tashi at 343 says. But in terms of campaign DLC or any major additions like the Battle Royale mode that Tatanka was supposed to be, coming to Infinite is likely not going to happen now. So I can foresee a future where Halo Infinite becomes the game that runs Halo for 3, 4, 5 years, what have you, and is played into the future, but ends up being completely standalone, kind of like a Halo 5. What that also means is that Tatanka, which is we kind of expected to see this year, the original plans from what we understand are that it was going to be shown around season 4, which would have placed it right around summer this year, in terms of, at least being shown and then maybe having some sort of delivery date in the semi-near future. If that's actually been shifted and they're going to move that active development over to Unreal, there's a lot that has to happen, because what we knew about Tatanka is really interesting. We know based on several different developer comments, like I said, what we saw of the code, what we saw of the integration with Infinite, it was going to be part of Infinite. The map was rumored to take place on the actual Zeta Halo ring, which would have made it this big open world that's already been created for Infinite, right, in slip space. We also was heavily rumored and later kind of validated, I believe, that it was going to include on the map several distinct locations that were kind of like classic Halo maps, right? So figure you land on the Zeta Halo ring, and part of that ring, one of the named locations is like Blood Gulch, right? And it has the bases and layout and everything like that, a lockout tower and all these different things. And it sounded really, really interesting. So I guess the biggest thing is going to be extremely disappointed if this is true and Tatanka has now shifted to Unreal, because it means that we're not going to see it this year. We're not going to see it for quite a long time, probably. 2, it means that they are in the absolute earliest phases of whatever is next for Halo. One thing Jason Schreier called out in his article was leaked internal emails from Pierre Hintz internally at 343 saying that they need to take time to get their tech stack reset. And so that kind of validates the shift to Unreal potentially, but it also means a lot of things, right? You've got people leaving 343 and have been let go. So there goes that industrial knowledge, or institutional knowledge, I guess is the better way to say it. And now you've got to bring on people that are ready to work into the future on this. So it's kind of a shame. Kind of a big shame that we're not going to see any single player content, additional content for Halo, because if you know how Halo Infinite ended, it's a great kind of cliffhanger as to what comes next. So who knows when we're going to see that, if we're going to see that. 2, the idea of Halo having its Warzone or Fortnite or Apex mode to go along with Halo Infinite sounds like that may be out the door, at least in the short term anyway, as well. That's very disappointing. And so I just... it's hard not to be a little deflated by this news. Now, I think that a lot of people are going to be talking about, okay, you're going to see a lot of, hey, they're moving to Unreal, this is great news, without really any context or people knowing what they're talking about. So there are reasons why, as I've said already, 343 and Halo hasn't moved to Unreal in the past. Now, I'm not a engine developer, game developer. I've only know what I've been told. So here's what I know around what the shift to Unreal would mean. What I'm hearing is that, 1, Unreal 5 and the tools and kind of plugins and APIs that go along with the updated engine doesn't have the same issues that Unreal 4 has or had, in the sense of a few different aspects, including things like open world delivery. So I would have to imagine that the core engineers and the people much smarter than us who work on this stuff within 343, within Epic Games, collaborated and kind of mapped out what this could look like and how they would develop Halo in Unreal. 2, I also have been told that 2 other things relating to Unreal. That is, 1, they were basically testing an import tool to move code from Slipspace to Unreal, and how that would then, incorporate into the Unreal Engine and how they would update it for that. And along those same lines, testing out how they would rebuild Forge in Unreal Engine. Because as I said at the top, you have all these different aspects of Halo Infinite or Halo as an IP that are critical, right? You need to support now open world delivery, multiplayer, live service, campaign, cinematics, Forge as a building tool, and all the other things that go along with Halo. PvE elements, PvP elements, etc. So from what I understand, that kind of testing has already taken place, and is taking place as we speak. So if the decision has been made, it would seem to indicate that leadership and whoever's heading up these decisions has seen enough positivity out of Unreal 5 and what Epic can deliver with the new engine or updated engine, that they've finally decided to make this jump. So what that could mean for Halo, the one nice thing, and I wrote this in my article 2 weeks ago, as kind of my tinfoil hat theory, but what this aligns with, right, is that from what we understand and what we've heard from developers since, is that building Slipspace was a monumental task, as we've talked about. And while it continues to improve, and they've improved it substantially in the past couple of years, it's still problematic for a couple reasons. Because one, it's a proprietary engine. So the people who understand the inner workings of it are few and far between, especially as you let contractors and other people go. So that becomes a problem. And then two, because it was built for Halo, how else do you use it? It's not that the engine goes away. It's not that it won't be used again internally by Xbox Game Studios potentially, but it was built for a dedicated IP, dedicated task. Where does that fit? We don't know. I guess we'll see. The nice thing about potentially moving to Unreal, which should seem pretty obvious, right? And I said in my article, is that you now have Xbox Game Studios with 23 studios. They've been hiring up for years. There's a massive amount of talent spread across their studios. And you have the potential Activision Blizzard deal closing this year as well, which would bring on, many more developers as well. So it puts them in a place where if the future of Halo is on Unreal 5 and the continued evolution of Unreal Engine, there's a lot more institutional knowledge spread not only across the industry, but internally first-party Xbox Game Studios on Unreal than there is Slipspace. And so that allows you to move resources as you see fit internally to help develop Halo. It'll also be easier to find second-party and third-party developers, or there's plenty of smaller studios out there that work as, addition studios, right? Kind of like how Raven Software helps with the Call of Duty franchise. Certain Affinity helped with Halo Infinite and was building Tatanka. There's lots of those studios in the industry that help with that. Unreal is the most widely used engine. Arguably, it may be Unity. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure, at least at a AAA perspective, that Unreal is the most used. And so you just have your wealth of resources to work on those games becomes a lot bigger than a proprietary engine. It also ties back to kind of all the way at the beginning of what we said with all this converging information that 343 acting as the curator of the IP and multiplayer development, but it's very possible that as they start to co-develop the next single player Halo or whatever the next core Halo game is, that it's done so with other studios in first party and other contracted studios. So it's not that 343 is not developing Halo anymore. That's not what any of us ever said. It's that there's this future where co-development happens more broadly than it has in the past. So I hope that all makes sense. I'm kind of doing this off the cuff, like I said. I don't know how Hogue does this all the time. He's a wizard. But just an awful lot of thoughts on what's going to happen with Halo and currently, happening with Halo with Infinite. I have to say, personally, I've had people come to me and say, you always sound so rational with Halo. And it's like, well, I like I said, I love the IP and I want to support it. And I think they've done, I think from a gameplay perspective, Infinite is incredible. I think that there's a lot of positivity around what 343 did deliver with Infinite. But as we just talked through for the last however long we've been recording, there are a lot of things that have gone wrong along the way as well, right? So I think what you're going to see next, what I'd like to see next, is you're going to see a focus on Season 3 and HCS Year 2. So you have the Charlotte major coming up in 3 weeks for HCS Year 2 to kick off. It's the first major. And then you have Season 3 of Halo Infinite live service starting on, I believe, March 7th. I'm going off memory here. That's going to introduce the DMR, some new equipment, new maps, etc. It will eventually change the HCS meta, which a lot of the pros are asking for. And we'll see how this year progresses. I'm pretty excited about the Infinite content delivery rate this year, especially there's already been stuff we've seen of Season 4 and what's proposed for that I trust, which should bring infection. It should bring other modes, maps, etc., and continue to speed that up. So I'm excited about that. But what I really want to see here, I said this, I think, on Cast Co-op, which is in the next, I would say, month or two, in the shorter time frame after season 3 kicks off and HCS year 2 kicks off. I really think we need Pierre Hintz to come out as studio head of 343 and really just talk cleanly, clearly, and concisely about Halo, and what their plans are. Because you've got someone as well known as Jason Schreier talking about it. You've got a bunch of other people talking about it. Then you've got a whole cast of characters spreading information that's either wrong or just a mess, along with their own thoughts. A lot of backlash, a lot of uncertainty. And at the end of the day, there are millions of people who adore this IP. There are lots of people who are invested in the IP from a content creation standpoint, from a pro perspective for HCS. And I think there's just a lot of uncertainty right now, which is being spread broader and broader by the minute. So I think Pierre Hintz really needs to come out and say, here's our focus for Halo Infinite. Here's what it means to us. Here's how long we're going to support it and actively support it. Here's what I can say, right? He obviously can't give every detail, but here's what I can say about the future of what we're doing with Halo and what we're working on and working towards. And he needs to double down to reassure people that Halo is at the center of Xbox and Microsoft strategy for their gaming division. Now, I know Phil Spencer has come out, talked about it high level. Phil's always really good with words. But I'm kind of shocked that the only statement we've gotten from Pierre Hintz is this, really kind of damage control statement after our articles came out a week and a half ago or whatever. It really said nothing. Continuing to develop epic stories means absolutely nothing. It doesn't even necessarily relate to games. So I need him to come out and talk about the game specifically, because that's obviously what we're focused on here. And I think many people listening to this are focused on. But I think I've kind of covered everything I wanted to. I got a list of bullet points in front of me. I'm sure I'm forgetting stuff that I've talked about with other people. Please let me know what you think of kind of me doing these videos. Like I said, this is off the cuff. We're at 27 minutes and I've just been rambling. But I do, when it comes to Halo, like, this is my love, this is my passion in the gaming space. And I do have, information that I can share that I know is valid and that other people don't have, which, I can't say for many topics in the gaming industry. But I'd like to know what you think. If you want to hear more about this, if you have questions about things I didn't touch on, please just leave a comment. I'll be happy to respond to it. But for now, I think that about covers it. So we'll see. Really excited for HCS to come back. We have an online qualifier tomorrow, actually, but the major in a couple of weeks will be fun. And of course, year 3, I'm hoping lands well, excuse me. So as always, you'll see me online playing. I am trying to stream more lately, doing Halo rank, so you can see me get pissed off a lot. But playing some higher level Infinite, not super high level, but higher level. And of course, I always stream for Extra Life and everything like that. So just raising money for charity and trying to do good in the community. But your support is awesome. Thank you, everyone who reached out to me about this and kind of asked what my take was. And I like I said, I hope I covered everything. And anything else you want to talk about, you can find us on Discord, on the Season Gaming Discord. Feel free to join over there. We talk about this stuff a lot. Obviously, tune in to Big Cast every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We talk about this a lot there as well. And other than that, just thank you as always for supporting Season Gaming. So I'm going to head out. I've got some real work to do, and maybe I'll play a little Halo later. You know how it goes. So until next time, peace.